Studio B is on the road at the Donald Danforth Plant Science Center. 44,000 square feet of greenhouse space. We're in one of those greenhouses with, let me get her title right, the Vice President of Research and Oliver M. Langenberg Distinguished Investigator. This is Dr. Toni Kutchan. So nice to meet you.
Good morning, Carol. It's a pleasure to have you here with us this morning.
Neither one of us, we want to say, are morning people. So we're waiting for the coffee to kick in, but we're very excited to have this conversation because coming up, there is the WISE conference, Women in Science and Entrepreneurship. What you're going to speak at that conference? We want to encourage women to think about a career in science. Why aren't they right now, do you think?
A wonderful question. Yes, we want to encourage women to have STEM careers in science, engineering. We are 51% women in this country, and we're much, much, much less than 51% women in these professions. Why? I think in part it's a lack of networking and encouragement of girls when they're very, very young in the school system to let them know that, yes, they can become mathematicians, they can become scientists, they can become engineers, and they can have their own companies when they grow up.
I'm so intrigued. You just came back from Japan by your career path.
Yes.
Did you run into, my goodness, why don't you be a beautician? Why don't you be a teacher? Which I love teachers. I was one once. Did you run into people discouraging you?
I think I was fortunate. I remember a particular teacher when I was in high school. So this really denotes the importance of teachers encouraging you. A particular teacher in my advanced chemistry course who wanted me to become a chemist. And he kept asking every day, Toni, what are you going to do when you go to college? Every day until I said, I'm going to study chemistry. And this was really, really important. I remember a particular incident, though, before going. So I decided for chemistry. I went to Illinois Institute of Technology, in Chicago, which was absolutely a male school for science and engineers. And before I went to my family eye doctor to get new glasses. And he asked me what I was doing, and I told him I was going to go to IIT and I'm studying chemistry. And he said to me, oh, those boys are going to slaughter you there. Why are you doing that?
Oh, my gosh. Was this the last time you went to him as an eye doctor?
It was, yes. And I didn't quite understand that because I knew that in high school, all the guys would want to sit behind me when we had exams because they were cheating off my exams. Right? Wow. So I think it's probably a good example of how you have to get to girls when they're young enough and convince them you can do this. Don't let anybody scare you before people come up to them and tell them they can't because they're a girl.
I will tell you that someone once told me on the college campus that my voice was awfully deep and it was too deep. One boy told me that. And I'm like, well, you know, this is my career. So people will tell you these things all along the path, and you just need to have the fortitude to stick with your dreams.
That's right. And enough encouragement and networking throughout so that there's always women or people there encouraging you to continue pursuing your dreams.
I know that Monsanto, for all the criticism that Monsanto gets from different sectors of the world, of society, that Monsanto's doing a great deal to attract women into the sciences as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you have to make sure that women make it through the educational system. So I think going into college, it's a high percentage of women who are studying and even in the sciences. But then after that is when they start dropping out of the workforce, when it starts getting more difficult to make those life decisions. Getting married, having children. I think by far women are still the main caretakers for the house and for children. So if you don't have an employer that's supportive of that gives you the flexibility that you need in your schedule, it puts you in a very difficult position where you're either going to have to choose between your family or your job.
And you don't have to choose. You need people around you who should not have to choose. Okay, we want to tell you how exciting it is to have a career in the sciences. As I mentioned, she just came back from Japan. We were joking that we thought it was Africa. No, it was actually Japan. Okay, that's cool. That's cool too. But we have some of the research that you're doing behind us without this becoming a chemistry course. Because we don't lose us. Tell us what you're doing here.
I would tell you two things of what's taken me around the world in my career, and that's that my research group studies plants that make medicines. Right? So, and about 25% of our medicines come from plants in the developed world. If you look around the world, about 75–80% of the world's population has only access to medicinal plants as their only source of medicines.
How many?
About 75–80%. Wow. Think about it. I mean, we're in a very modern society where we're also wealthy enough to afford pure drugs. But the vast majority of the world is not that way. So they rely on their traditional medicines. So we study plants that make medicines, and we study how the plants make those medicines.
So behind us we have...
So we have a wonderful collection here. The plants in the front that you're looking at are Opium Poppy.
That's what they look like.
Yeah, that's what they look like. You can recognize the capsule up top of Opium Poppy. Opium Poppy makes the painkiller morphine and codeine. So very, very important plants. Opium Poppy produces and accumulates the morphine and codeine in its capsule. So if we would injure this capsule, we'd cut it, there'd be a white milk that would come out of there, and that's where all the drugs are. You let that white milk dry in the air, it turns brown, and that's what's called opium. And everybody's heard of opium, I think, right? And opium is certainly a substance of abuse, but it also goes into pharmaceutical industry to make very, very important painkillers.
Fascinating.
Right. The next plant that we're looking at is, I think this one, I'm probably not strong enough to bring the flat down, is a plant called Camelina Sativa. It's originally a European plant that was never really cultivated for consumption. It's a relative of canola. So it has an oil seed. So in these capsules up here are seeds that make a lot of oil that could be used as a cooking oil. But in the case of Camelina, since it's not a foodstuff plant, several groups at the Danforth Center are developing it as a chemical factory for biofuels. So you can squeeze the oil out of the seed and use it in your tractor, in your car as a fuel with some modification.
Fascinating. How long have you been working on these?
The Opium Poppy for the better part of 30 years, and Camelina probably for the past 6 or 7 years.
I'll just compliment you that I did not think you'd been in the career that long.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Well, ladies, we want you and your daughters and dads are very important in this, to encourage your girls to be involved in the STEM fields. And look at this right here, an example that's being done in the St. Louis area. You have these examples close to home of why your girls should do it and can do it.
Absolutely. And there's programs that the girls can participate in, summer programs. The Girl Scouts of Eastern Missouri have been incredible in supporting STEM.
There's a badge now. There wasn't always a badge.
That's right. So you can come into special courses throughout the year. In summer, we offer one of them here. You can come to conferences like the WISE Conference and listen to women tell you about how they're successful. How do they get to that point in their career? How do they manage their personal life and their professional life? And network with them. Again, networking is so important. So you have these contacts so those women can help you throughout your career and get you to where you'd like to be.
Such an honor to meet you, Dr. Toni. Thank you.
Very, very much. It's been a pleasure.
More Studio B at KMOX.com.